We got nuns, two nun, too furious.
I got family.
It's only one nun. Let's talk about it. What's up, Flick fans? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking The Nun 2. I was not a big fan of the first one, but I like some of the movies in the Conjuring universe. So is this upper tier, lower tier, or none ya business? Because 1956 in France, a priest is murdered and evil is spreading. This is the sequel to the worldwide smash hit following Sister Irene as she once again comes face to face with Valak, the demon nun. In Valak, it's scary, especially since this movie's rated R. Finally, for violent content and some terror. One thing I always say about some of the movies, not all of them in the Conjuring universe, I need them to lean more into that R rating. They're often coming out, it's PG-13, it's PG-13. The Nun 2 was rated R off the bat, and I'm like, that's awesome, let's see what you got. And as you're watching this movie, I kind of forgot it was R going in, you can tell it's rated R. There are times where I wish it would have leaned a little bit more into the violence. What does that say about me? But I do think it does a good job of capturing that R rating and bringing back some characters from the first movie, introducing new characters, and giving us performances that are actually pretty good for a standard studio horror sequel. Yeah. Also, what do you mean by that? Well, it could have been a paycheck movie, but I don't think it is for a lot of these actors and young performers. There are kids in this film, and I thought the kids, for the most part, captured the time period that is appropriate and did a nice job. The standout performance for me, Taissa Farmiga, who's the sister of Vera Farmiga. This is a family affair in the Conjuring universe. She plays Irene. She was the shining beacon of the slop fest that was the first movie, and she once again is the best actor here. She's so good in the role, but the focus, it's not as much on her. We have Deborah, Kate, Sophie, Storm Reed is in here, Anna Popplewell, and a nice cast and crew, and again, people that aren't going through the motions, but these characters, they're placed in a very terrifying, haunting situation that they don't even know is that at the beginning of the movie. They are investigating a murder, and there's a murder situation happening, so yeah, that's scary enough, but they don't have any clue that there's a demon behind what's actually going on, and this demon is a nun.
What? No.
So you've got the good nuns that you're following around, and a little girl who's kind of being bullied by other little girls, and we don't care as much about that. And one guy that comes in, and he, we think he's one character at first, and there's obviously going to be some twists and turns along the way, and we've seen that story 1,000 times. But Irene, she's cool, and she's basically the only thing that saves this, at least the first two acts, from being just a complete and utter dud of a story, a dud of a plot, and one that I was not even remotely invested in. I like the characters once again, and I appreciate some of the performances, but the story that's built around them and the actual motivations, this murder mystery that is trying to be solved, it's kind of relegated to the background to focus on things that I could not have cared less about at the beginning of this film, and that's what takes away from the potential that The Nun 2 brought, especially after that opening scene. And our director here, Michael Chavez, directed The Curse of La Llorona, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, and that could be part of the reason why my criticisms with this movie falls in line, right with the issues I have with some of the other movies in this universe. Not Conjuring 1, not Conjuring 2, but a lot of these spin-offs, the first Annabelle, the first Nun, it's just, you don't give us a story that we care about as much as you think we care about. So when we spend 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes focusing on the conversations between these characters and the dialogue, it's fine. It's time appropriate. I think the atmosphere is pretty nice in this movie, but not building an interesting story, or in this movie's case, an authentic mystery. It's another run-of-the-mill murder that happens, and they're trying to figure things out, and some of these characters that come in, you immediately know the role that they're going to play in what inevitably is a better finale. But because you know exactly where the characters are going to go, and you can even kind of predict who's going to die in this movie, that's unfortunate. And I wish they would have strayed away from some of those horror cliches. And I always throw that in there with these studio horror movies, and that's, frankly, it's something I feel like I ramble about in these horror reviews, but it's just the same old thing every time. Do something different, switch it up. I don't even mind familiarity, but give us great execution with the familiar plot point. Don't give us the same run-of-the-mill, oh, the character is running and this big, huge demon thing's chasing him. By the way, the prosthetics, some of the CGI, It actually looks really good. The Nun, Valak, evil demon thing, that looked good. But when they're being chased down the hallway and you know they're going to trip and fall, and they trip and fall, and I'm like, no, you would be dead. That demon's going to catch you. You're dead. You're dead in that moment. You're going to die. Nope. They get up and run.
What is wrong with you?
I'll give the film some credit. Like I said, the first 2 acts. But in the midst of that snooze fest, there are a couple of really inventive and creative scares. I mean, you know they're coming. You hear the music build up. You understand that there's a long pause for a reason. There's going to be a scare. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Improperly executed, right? But a couple of these moments with great execution, one in particular where the pages are flipping and you can see Valak in the background, that was really cool. Another one, I think the opening scene sequence where someone flies up in the air and there's some fire involved there, that was great, right? So moments in between the dullness, but was it worth watching all the way to the end? Well, not really.
No, don't like that.
That being said, the ending is madness. It's like this entire movie is so quiet, calm, and collected until that third act, and then everything opens up. We get some crazy visuals, some really cool and properly executed scares. That's nice. I'm like, where was this energy throughout the entire film? Because 2 acts of nothing and then this. So some people are going to say that's over the top. I completely disagree. I think that made the movie kind of worth sticking with, especially if you like the first Nun. But if you didn't like the first Nun, you may like this one a little bit better, but I still don't think it's going to win you over because it takes so long to get there. Before I give you my score, have you ever seen a demon nun? Let me know. The Nun 2 isn't as messy as the first, and the third act delivers the right amount of over-the-top scares, but the story is an absolute dud through the first 2 acts. The final stretch does enough to slightly bring it back from the dead, that's a pun, but it feels too late at that point. And that's why I would say, unless you're just a huge fan of this franchise or you want some turn-your-brain-off horror, I don't know if The Nun 2 is worth watching in the theater. But if you're invested in the franchise, you're going to want to watch it eventually. Maybe save it for streaming at that point. Thanks for watching. Is she here? Hopefully not. I'm talking about the evil nun, not my wife. I want her to be here most of the time.